Hello everyone, my name is Essence and this is welcome to my YouTube channel 7 in 7. This channel is something that's really close to my heart. I was really inspired by just my journey as a parent and as a mother and different experiences that I've had and wanting to not only share them but get the feedback of other mothers and just other people who have dealt with or know someone or is related to someone who has dealt with similar struggles, and just really trying to build a platform of awareness and being able to share some of the things that don't often get touched on or talked about. And so the name 7 in 7 came from the fact that me and my husband have 7 children, and we've had 7 children in the 7 years that we've been back together. We've been married for 6, but we've been back together for 7. We used to be high school sweethearts. My husband was my first boyfriend. I met him when I was 13 years old and he was 15. I met him at church and it wasn't until my mother got married and moved away that we lost touch. So once we got back together, 10 years later, he had 2 children from a previous relationship and I had 1. So we started off with 3 and then we added 4 more. And so hence 7 in 7. So one of the main topics that I would like to touch on is the 4th trimester. The dreaded taboo topic of life postpartum. That is a topic that is very seldomly talked about, and when it is talked about, it's only on the surface. There's no deep diving, there's no delving into, there's no unpacking. It's just very surface level conversation that takes place. And it's mostly because, well, for one, I feel like people are not comfortable with being so vulnerable. And also because they are afraid of how people will look at them if they are honest about, different things and experiences that they're going through, and how it bothers them, how it triggers them, how it affects their ability to function in everyday life. For me personally, I just had a baby in October. I'm currently 5 weeks postpartum, and I have to tell you that this experience has been beautiful and terrible all at the same time. Sevyn is my 5th biological child, my first C-section. All of my other children were born vaginal. So in this video, to open up and to start off, I'm going to basically speak on my birthing experience, because unfortunately my birthing experience has a lot to do with what I am dealing with now postpartum, which a lot of women, I don't think, understand how much their birthing experience can affect their recovery mentally, emotionally, physically postpartum. So to start off, just a little background about me. I try to do everything as natural as possible. So I try to feed my children healthily. I try to do my research about vaccinations, medications. When it comes to things like that, I'm really a stickler for very minimal intervention when it comes to things that I guess I feel aren't necessary. So when it comes to me having my children, getting epidural and things like that, like if I don't feel like I need it, I'm not doing it. In two out of five, so 2 out of 5 I had naturally. My first two, I had all the drugs. Whatever they had to give, I had it. But the second two, the next two after that, I did not. And then for Sevyn, I had a C-section, so whatever they had to give, I had it, of course. So let's dive in. Starting off with my pregnancy. During my pregnancy, I had hyperemesis gravidarum, HG for short. That's basically a form of morning sickness, except for it doesn't only happen in the morning. I literally was sick all day long. Anything could trigger it. Water, looking at food, thinking about food could trigger it. I could not keep anything down. I could barely keep down air. Like, that's how bad it was. I was hospitalized this pregnancy roughly anywhere from 7 to 10 times. And when I say hospitalized, like, I literally had to stay for a few days to get fluids, to get medication, to get IVs. I had to stay for an extended period of time for them to give me enough sustenance to be able to function for a few days before I turned around and was right back for my next bout of whatever. So that was my pregnancy. I've had it with all of my pregnancies, but this one was the most severe. No, they currently do not have a cure. There's no medication that's guaranteed to keep it under control. There's no one way to keep it under control. It just kind of, it is what it is. I feel like up until now, there hasn't been that much awareness or speak of it. I feel like a lot of women who complained of this condition, their concerns were minimalized. They were deemed to be overreacting or basically made to seem like they're exaggerating their symptoms or the way that they feel. But I'm here to tell you firsthand that if you have a loved one or you know someone who says that they're experiencing these kind of symptoms, please don't minimalize it. It's not just morning sickness. Ginger ale, ginger tea, ginger candy, saltine crackers, laying down for 20 minutes when you first wake up, none of that helps. It's not going to do it. And it's really just that simple. That's not going to work. And it kind of, it's almost like a smack in the face to the person who's pregnant when these things are offered continuously and they're trying to tell you that I need something more. This is not it. It's very trying on your mental when you know that the things that you put in your body, you need to put things in your body in order to help the life that you're trying to create, and you can't do it. And no matter what you try, no matter how much you want to, your body is not allowing you. So just if you have someone who's experiencing these things, please try your best to be supportive, even if you don't understand, because the woman who's enduring these things in her mind, she's going crazy because she can't fathom how she's going to be able to carry out the one thing that she needs, that she would like to, effectively. So moving on. So going through that, Sevyn she was growing, she was healthy, but she wasn't necessarily that big. So coming up until I think about 36 weeks, they said she was about 5 pounds. They said her abdomen was measuring small, so they were considering induction. And I was kind of for it because the pregnancy was very trying and she was already in head down position. And honestly, for some reason, the closer we got to her due date, the more anxiety I had surrounding her coming. So it was like the sooner we could kind of prompt her to get out of me, the better. So we picked the induction date. I think she was around 37 weeks. I was 37 weeks pregnant with her when like we picked the date. So I go in, she's in position, you know, they give me everything I need in order to get labor rolling, and everything is pretty much good. The only thing that was an issue was the fact that Sevyn wouldn't stay on the monitor. Which I think is the case for most babies. Most babies, for some reason, when they go to put that ultrasound on, a Doppler, or they hook mommy up to a machine, baby just disappears. It's like they vanish, like they're not even in there. So at some point in the course of me being not dilated at all to being 7 centimeters dilated, Sevyn got out of position. So we're like really excited. I'm like basically in active labor. Contractions are really close together. We had the medicine ball out. I was up doing like exercises and moving around, and it's just like, okay, let's see. My water didn't break yet on its own, so we're just like, okay, like maybe it's time. Maybe we can just break it. Well, my midwife goes to break my water, and all she feels is water. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, typically when they stick their fingers up there, they should feel something. They would like to feel the head. She did not feel a head. She did not feel the foot. She didn't feel my umbilical cord. She didn't feel anything but what literally felt like a bag of water. And so she gets her ultrasound machine and she looks in there and she's like, yeah, Sevyn was no longer in head down position. Instead, she was like literally like almost at the top of my stomach, balled up. Nowhere near the exit whatsoever. So I am freaking out. The last thing that I ever wanted to experience in my life was a C-section. I've heard horror stories, and there's nothing wrong in the sense of like moms who have gotten them. I commend you because, oh my God. But that was just an experience I never wanted to experience. And because I've always had I guess good experiences with delivering my babies vaginally, I never prepared myself mentally for the possibility that this could be my reality. And it was. And so when they told me, I literally cried for about all of like the whole time. The whole time, honestly, all the way from the time that they said she was out of position all the way to the time that I actually had the C-section. I believe I was crying. But in between there, they told me I had 3 options. The 3 options I had were, for one, they could turn the baby themselves. They could try to turn her because she was so small. She was only 5 pounds and some change. So they're like, we could try to turn her and get her back in position. The danger in that was they could break my water. If they break my water and she's not in position, she's not ready, that could end up resulting in an emergency C-section anyway. And there's no guarantee that it was going to end well for her. My second option was that because all of my other babies were bigger than her, I think the smallest one being, 6'10", 10 was my next biggest from her. They were like, I could have her breech, like I could have her vaginally breech, and she should fit through with no problem. But there is still a chance that because she's coming out feet first, they don't know what's going on inside. So what does that mean? That looks like the cord could be wrapped around. They would not be able to do anything about that, except for maybe that resulting in an emergency C-section. If they have the ultrasound and they're watching while she's coming out, still that would result in them having to end up cutting her out if that was the case, which still, because I'm already opened up and things like that, you're talking about this could still not be a good situation for the baby. So in the end, the last option was the C-section. And so I felt like in that, it's still a little difficult for me to talk about. But in the C-section, just doing that in and of itself and just cutting out all the other steps, that was the best option for the baby. And so that was the option that me and my husband went with. We went with getting the C-section. And it broke my heart to have to do, but we did it. And that experience in and of itself was also traumatic. The doctor I had that performed my C-section was the best that there is. My midwife, she was there and she is amazing. Me and my husband would not have been able to get through this experience without her. But with that being said, there were some other people in the operating room that weren't the most professional, that were not the most efficient, that weren't the most sensitive toward the scenario, and it was really off-putting. And with all of that being said, I was not sure that I was going to make it home to my other children. I was not sure that I was going to be able to meet my baby. I'm very grateful and I'm very thankful that me and my baby made it out of that situation. And I also I really commend at the highest level every mom who has had to have a C-section, because that is not an easy experience. And I'm starting to understand, because there's always been this stigma, right, that C-section moms are somehow lesser than moms who give birth vaginally. And I feel like that stigma might come from moms who have had C-sections themselves, because, and this is just my opinion, but somehow me myself, I find myself at times when I think back on the birth of my daughter, I feel myself feeling incomplete. I almost feel like there was something that wasn't done, or there's something left to do, even though it's over, it's done. But that's not the energy that I feel when I think back on that scenario. And so I just want to say to all of you, all of my C-section moms out there, like, you are amazing. You are a warrior. And your baby is here and your child is here and growing and thriving, and you did your due diligence. You did your job. And even if you don't feel it, even if you don't feel like you are enough or you did enough, I'm here to tell you that you are and that you did. But yeah, so with that being said, my birthing experience was very traumatic for me. And one of the biggest things that they say can influence you postpartum is having a traumatic birth experience. which is something I never really experienced before. So I really was not aware of this. So therefore, I was not prepared of the onset of emotions and mental anguish and even physical anguish that came along with the experience that I had. So, with that being said, I realized I have periods of time where even now, like, this is the first time that I'm really telling the story of my birthing experience and not being like in tears, like just a crying mess. Show is growth. There's times where I just look at my baby and there's nothing going on and I will just cry. There's times that I'm just sitting in my bed and nothing's happening and I will just cry. And that's okay. I'm learning that that's okay. I'm learning to allow myself to feel and to know that all of the feelings and thoughts and things that I'm experiencing, that they are normal and that they are real. When it comes to the 4th trimester and everything that comes along with it, if you have other children, if you're breastfeeding, having a C-section, your body has to heal. So you have that part. Even if you have a baby vaginally, sometimes you have to get stitches. So you have to heal. There's that part. You have all kinds of fluids coming out of you. You got to make sure you're staying clean and taking care of yourself, on top of learning this new person and taking care of them, making sure you get sleep, tending to the house and house duties. There's so much postpartum that women have to deal with that we are not prepared for. And the majority of it remains in the unseen. And that part, the part that's unseen, is the part that manifests everything that's going on in front of us and around us. And so I think having more dialogue about that and really bringing more awareness and getting more support from the ones around us is really the key to overcoming the 4th trimester, and not so much mastering it, but being able to get through it. Being able to see the light at the end of the tunnel, being able to know that you are not alone in this fight, and that no matter what, everything is going to be okay. And I think that that is the most important thing, is to be able to hold on to that part, to know that everything is going to be okay. Sevyn is starting to wake up. It's time for her night feeding before we go to bed. So I'm going to wrap this video up, but I want to say that I will be making more videos on the 4th trimester. I will be touching on C-section, scar care, and the fluids that leak from our bodies. I will also be touching on coming home with a new baby when there's other siblings in the house, breastfeeding, and if there's any other topics that people would like to talk about and share dialogue, share your experiences, coping mechanisms, I would love to hear them. I would love to talk about them. I would love to hear other people's birthing experiences, C-section or vaginal. We have to create a conversation. We have to. There's too many women going through this journey without any information, without any education, feeling alone with a million people around her. We want to stop that. I want to stop that. I want to help invoke some type of change in that area, because a change needs to happen. And I'm grateful for my support system. I'm grateful for my village, my husband, my friends. They have been great. It's so funny because three of my best friends, some way, shape, or form, around the birth of Sevyn, their kids got RSV, they got RSV. It's like they got the flu, so nobody could come see us. But I did have some friends who could still come by and still come see, so that was great. And family members and things like that who came by and helped out and pitched in. So it's been great. It's been wonderful. It's been a journey, but I know that I'm not in this alone. And even in attacking the fourth trimester, I'm still learning different tools and things. And so as I'm learning and growing and developing, I want to bring you guys along this journey with me. This is a form of therapy for me also, to be able to share with you guys and get all of these things out and off of my chest. I hope that this video was helpful to someone. And until we talk again, good night.